So today we're going to talk about endgames because that's your favorite being a kid. Specifically, king and pawn endgames. Now in an endgame, how do you win? What's the winning method? Yes?
If you have a pawn, you give that pawn to a queen, and if you're king and queen, you defeat the other player.
I agree, very good. And when your pawn gets all the way to the end and you make it a queen, what's that called?
Promotion.
Pawn promotion. Okay, now we're going to show some easy and some difficult endings. When they're difficult, what do? You cry, and when they're easy, you give the right answer. Okay? So this ending is very funny because I had two students I showed this position to. They were both rated about the same. They were about the same rating as you. They were rated about 2250. That's your rating, right? No, 250? Okay, so they were rated 2250. One student I said, what should the result of this position be? The other student I said, white to play and mate in how many moves? Even though they're the same rating. The person who I asked to checkmate, they gave the right answer. This is mate in 7. He thought about it, he said 7. He was right, because he figured it out. The other kid, we played for a long time, and he said, I guess this is a draw. So he wasn't right. Now, the reason he thought it was a draw was black is moving his king back and forth like this. That's easy to do, right?
Yeah.
And if white plays an obvious move, like king h6, that's stalemate. So that would be a tie. And if he plays king f6, that's also stalemate. And king f7 is also stalemate. And king f8 is also stalemate. So I was doing this, and he couldn't find a way to win. He said, I guess it's a draw. What you have to do when somebody is stalemated, if you want to beat them, is unstalemate them. Get rid of the stalemate. The reason it's stalemate is this annoying pawn. So if you make the pawn into a queen, I'll bet you that black takes it. Yeah, any takers? Anybody want to bet? I'll give you 5-to-1 odds. Okay, so he takes. By the way, this is move 1, right? Okay, and now white plays here, and I'll bet you black goes here. Yeah? That's move 2. Well, this is move 2. This is move 3, and I'll bet you black goes here. Black only had one legal move. And then white goes move 4, and I'll bet you black goes here. So every time, there's only one legal move. Then he makes a queen, which is move 5, and I'll bet you black goes here. And in this position, white has made in 2 moves, although most people can't figure it out. And I said people, so I'm not talking to the ones watching on the internet. Okay, this is for people, right? How does white checkmate black in 2 moves? It's the hardest position of the day until the next one. Anyone? No? Anyone at home? No, you don't know either, do you? Yes, all the way in the back. Didn't even see you.
Queen g3.
Queen g3 is correctamundo. We got a little Fonzarelli here. Queen g3. And black has one legal move, so he plays it. And now white has 2 different checkmates. The one that you see, queen here, and the one you don't see. Yes, what's the other one?
The first one is queen to h4.
Queen to h4 checkmate. Also queen to g6 checkmate. So white wins, but white has to sacrifice one of his pawns, otherwise it's going to be stalemate. Okay. Now another problem that's really good for killing an hour. So if you're a chess teacher at home, this will be good for your financial success. Okay, although I lost the black king, so we're finished. Okay, so this position I show at every chess camp, and I can show it for a whole week, and the kids will wipe their brow in a vain attempt to understand the situation, right? Yes, good, very good, good answer. Okay, so in this position, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm a good salesman. You can have white, or you can have black. It can be your move or my move. I'll leave it up to you, and I'll still beat you, which doesn't make any sense. You get to pick everything, right? So who wants to volunteer for this study? Because it's going to be embarrassing, so careful. Right? Was Sam Sevian over here? Okay, you. No, have a seat. do you want white or black?
White.
And do you want it to be your move or my move?
Let's see. I'd rather be your move.
Okay, so it's my move and you're white. Now, have you ever watched Wheel of Fortune before? No? Wheel of Fortune television show, you heard of it?
No.
Okay, well, there's a woman named Vanna White, and she turns the letters on the puzzle. You know what she does that's really important? She doesn't stand in front of the puzzle. Yeah, there you go. So he got it. Very good. Okay. Although you're probably sitting in front of the camera, but that's even funnier. Okay, so you said you want to be white, you want it to be my move. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll go here, and now it's your move.
I guess I'll just.
Okay, I guess I'll defend my pawn.
Well, I've already defended mine.
Okay, well, it's your turn.
You're actually pretty good.
He hates when this happens. Yeah. Now, if you were in my last class, you'd know what to do here. Were you in the last class? Who was in the last class? What do you do here? You cry. You're not, yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay, this position's really hard, even though it's the same position. It's like symmetrical, right? And you have to know what Zugzwang is. If you speak German, that helps. Might hurt you in other parts of your life, but it helps for chess. Yes. Did you want to play? I don't know about you. You're pretty good. This may be embarrassing for me. All right, come on up. Okay, you're the next contestant on Beat the Grandmaster. Would you like to have white or black, sir?
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter, so I get to pick?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you want it to be your move or mine?
My move.
Okay, so you want it to be your move, and you don't care what color I am. And what's going to happen? You're going to win, or you're going to draw, or you're going to lose?
I think I'm going to win.
Okay, he's going to win. Large wager on myself. Okay, so, well, you don't care what color you are? Okay, you could be white.
Okay.
Although you're right, it doesn't matter what color you are. You're right about that. So continue. Okay, that's the best move. That's what I did. Now, since he's playing well, I'm going to defend. If he was really bad, I would play an aggressive move, which loses, but I would probably win anyway. But against him, I think my aggressive move would backfire. So I will play correctly. I hate to play correctly, but the kid's too good. Okay, now he's going to win my pawn because he's mean. But I'm ready for that. He's like, wait, yeah, I'm still ready for you. You can take my pawn when you want. Okay.
No.
Maybe he'll never take my pawn. Then he's not going to win. Whoa, whoa, no cheating. Only I can cheat. That's in the. Didn't you read the rules? Is he going to win by never taking my pawn?
No. I doubt that.
Boy, we're having fun over here. Okay.
Oh.
Did you read my book, How to Kill an Hour? Okay. All right. Now, when he takes my pawn, have a seat. And don't block the camera. When he takes my pawn, now I move my king in a straight line with his called opposition. Okay, and then I keep doing it because that's how I roll. Okay, then he eventually moves his pawn forward. Okay, we're going to be here another hour, it looks like. But he's doing everything to try to win. He's hoping I make a mistake. Grandmasters make a lot of mistakes when it's king and pawn versus king. And eventually he'll keep pushing his pawn. And now, this is the key position in all of chess. There's 3 legal moves. 2 of them lose and 1 draws. So if I play the losing move, he'll win, right? And then I will get laughed at until your throat is sore. But I play the correct move, and now when he moves his king, I get opposition again. Hooray for me. And then he goes back, hoping against hope that I'll blunder. Okay. See how difficult that is? Okay, and eventually he'll give up and push his pawn. Or maybe he'll never give up and push his pawn. Maybe I'm wrong.
This is just going to be drawn out.
Right. Well, it was always a draw, but you played perfect. We both played perfect. We're the best. Do you want to go on the road? Okay, well play this move so that we're not here till next week. Right? Then here, move your king, yeah. And then stalemate. Yay, you played perfect. Give him a hand. Yay. Do you want to give a speech? No? Okay, you have a seat. Okay, so he played perfect, which is almost as good as better than perfect. Now the key position is this one. And that position never happened. If that position happens, and I ask you who's winning, you have to ask me a question. Have a seat. You have to ask me whose turn it is. And whoever's turn it is, they're losing. Because this is the perfect position.
Oh.
Everybody's defending their pawn. Everybody's attacking the other pawn. So if you move your king, you lose. So in this position, king here loses. And king here means that after king here, you lose. Because now it's black's move. However, if white takes this pawn and black plays king here in response, that's called what? I said what it was called earlier.
Stalemate.
Opposition. And then the king just goes in opposition. Right, stalemate is later. And that was we had a lot of fun doing that, didn't we? That was fun. Okay, so this is a draw, but both sides have to play well. If you make a mistake, either side can lose. And actually, in some chess camps, I've shown this position, and I've won with both sides for an hour. And you would think after looking at it for an hour, they would figure out what I'm doing, but no. But this is one of my favorite positions. Okay, and it gets to our key position of this one. Should black play king d8, king e8, or king f8? What do you think? Yeah?
D8.
King d8. Everybody agree?
No.
Nobody agrees? You're thinking Arby's? What's going on here? Yeah, I want to cut up my money from Arby's. We have an agreement. Okay, so you should play king e8. That way, whichever way white goes, you're ready. f6, you go here, and d6, you go here. You got to be ready. Then you move your king back and forth like that. That's pretty easy to remember. That's what I was doing when we were having fun over here. Okay, that's king and pawn versus king. Now this is one of my favorite puzzles because there's no answer to it. Is this a win for white or a draw if both sides play perfect?
Draw.
How could you answer when I said there's no answer? How could they do it? You have to ask a question first. What question do you ask? Yes? How many licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop? 3. Yes? Yeah? Whose turn is it? If it's white's turn, then black has the opposition. It's a draw. Notice how black just follows white. So white's not really getting anywhere. But if it's black's turn, now black has to make a bad move. Then white has the opposition. So if he goes back, white goes up. And if he goes to the side, we go up. And we escort our pawn home. And this is called the opposition. When the kings are in a straight line, do you want it to be your move or the other person's move?
Other person.
Other person. It doesn't matter which side you are. Also, another rule about endgames, whether you're trying to win or you're trying to draw, you want your king in front of your pawn. So in this position, the black king is in front of the pawn. That means he'll draw. In this position, the white king is in front of the pawn. That means he'll win. You always want your king in front of the pawn. Because the pawn wants to queen. If your king's in front of it, it's not going to queen. If the other guy's king is in front of it, then he's going to escort it home and it'll queen.
Okay.
Okay? If your king is on the 6th rank in front of the pawn, then you win. It doesn't matter whose turn it is. Okay? But when it's on the 5th rank, or the 4th rank, or the 3rd rank, on the 2nd rank if it's illegal, yes?
Okay, so can you go to the position that you've shown at first?
Ah, this one, yes.
Okay,
He tried to trick me. Good job. You get extra credit for that.
King F5.
King F5, I'm going to follow you, just like last night.
King F4.
King F4 going backwards. That scares me a lot. No. Okay, anything draws. How about there? That way I have an opposition, sort of. You going to keep going back and your king's going to promote for me?
No.
Yeah, this is solid. Black is solid, unless you make mistakes every move. Then it's risky. You always keep the king in front of the pawn, and you always move straight back and straight up. Okay? It's called the Paula Abdul technique. Straight back and straight up. Okay, straight up, no, nothing. Yeah, exactly. Right, well put. There's a critic everywhere. Okay, now there's exceptions to the rules because you guys like rules a lot. When the pawn is on the side, you see how that's the side? Then it's always a draw. You can never win. And I'm going to show you why. In this position, if it's black's turn to move, black has to cry because he has to play king here. White plays king here. It makes a queen. So this is a key position. But if it's on the side, it doesn't matter whose turn it is. If it's black's turn, it's stalemate. If it's white's turn, it's stalemate. So side pawns are bad. Let me tell you how bad side pawns are. Okay, this one went to jail last week. That's a bad side pawn, right? Now you got nothing? Okay, so I'm going to give white 5 pawns. Is that fair?
No.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Is this a win for white or is it a draw if both sides play perfect? Yes.
Draw.
It's a draw because you can't win. Black does that. That's hard to do. And then white plays stalemate. That's not very helpful. Okay, so side pawns are really bad. And there's something crazy we won't learn in this class because it's too hard. But if there was a bishop here, that's still a draw. Isn't that crazy?
Unless it were black bishop.
Well, then it would be a win. Right. But this is a draw. Now, there's a trickster out there whose name I won't mention because we're being filmed. Roman Ginger. Oh, that was a mistake. I didn't mean to say his name. DZ. I didn't mean to spell it for you. Okay, Roman Gingerashvili used to make a bet with people. He would bet them that he could queen his pawn. He said, I can promote my pawn. I'll bet you. And you're like, okay, because you can't win this. So he would get to this position. He'd move his king back and forth forever. And you would think you're winning the bet. Then he would go here. You see how the bishop's protecting the pawn? And now you would do this, which is a draw, right? Then he would promote his pawn and say, pay me, I win. Because he bet you he would promote his pawn. And he did. He didn't say he'd win the game. He said he'd promote his pawn. He did promote his pawn, right? You got to give it to him. So he wins the bet, although he doesn't win the game. So you can't promote your pawn, but the other guy's going to take it. So that's not good. So pawns on the side of the board are bad. Pawns in the middle are good. Then there's the Finegold rule named after, was it Ulysses S. Grant? No, named after me. And you know who named it? I did. Yay.
Do it.
Okay, it's like, I don't know who wrote my autobiography, but it's probably me. Okay, and the rule is, if your king is 2 squares in front of your pawn, which I would also include here and here. See how it's 2 squares in front? You agree? You agree?
Yeah.
Then you always win unless your opponent plays king takes pawn. Then you don't win. So every legal square the king is on is losing. This is losing unless you play king takes pawn. Then you're all set.
That's the only winning
Then you're all set. Yeah.
Actually,
So this position's a draw if it's white's move. This position's always winning. It doesn't matter whose move it is, because if it's white's move, white goes here, and now it's black's move. So 2 squares in front of your pawn is good, right? Now we're going to learn something fun, okay, unlike the previous examples. And it's called the outside passed pawn. Outside is the outside. That would be the outside of the room, because you're not in the room anymore. In the middle of the room is the inside, because you're inside the room. So in chess, we have something called the outside passed pawn.
Whoa.
What's a passed pawn? Thank you for asking. A passed pawn is a pawn that can become a queen, and no pawn can stop it. And in this position, there are 2 passed pawns. White has a passed pawn, and black has a passed pawn. That's white's passed pawn. That's black's passed pawn.
but then I have
These pawns aren't passed. They're all blocking each other. Passed pawns are good because they promote. Then you win, as you pointed out earlier. You were like, passed pawns become queens, you win. Well, it's 4 against 4, so you would think probably a draw. But if a grandmaster walked in, they would say, no, this isn't a draw. One side is winning. Do you know which side is winning? Is it white or black?
black.
White.
I'm not sure.
Not sure. I asked Michael Jackson. He said it didn't matter. So, okay, strange answer. Now, it actually turns out white's winning because white has the outside passed pawn, not the inside passed pawn. Well, the furthest out, this is the outside of the board, right? So that's the furthest you can get and still be on the board. And then this is obviously the inside of the board. So which one is outside? This one is. So here's the problem that black has. White tries to queen his pawn, and black's like, you can't queen that pawn. And then, when this pawn moves up, and you take this pawn, and I take your pawn, that's what's going to happen. Now, who's closer to those pawns on the queen side? White or black? Who's closer?
White.
White. White's going to go take all those pawns, and he's going to run out of breath. He can't make it that far. White's going to go here and here and go num num num. And black's king is too far away. So the outside pass pawn wins in these endgames. Now, I was watching him on the internet before you were born, which is actually true except in your case. Okay, not you at home, the guy, camera guy. Okay, and it was a game between two very strong players, and one of them's not a cheater. Wink. Well, actually, they both are. Okay, and it's Kasparov, the world champion, versus Zorab Azmaiparashvili. That's his name. I wouldn't make that up because I can't make that up. Yeah, that's an awesome name. In fact, I used to own a fish, and its name was Zurab, after Zurab Azmaiparashvili, right? Okay, now Zurab is his first name, Azmaiparashvili is his second name. I'm one of the few players in the world who can spell his last name. I'm very proud of that. Okay, now in this position, I was shocked because the game ended here. And it was white to move. Did white win? Did black win? Or did they agree to a draw? And in fact, the actual result surprised me because this was too hard for me. So I had to start crying. And in fact, black resigned. He gave up. Yeah, well, it's white's turn to move. Actually, his resignation was correct. I just couldn't figure out why. But then I figured out why, because somebody told me. So white moves his king, and black does the same. Unfortunately, white goes first, for black anyway. And that's why black gave up. Yeah. See, because his king fell. Okay, king here. And now, after king takes pawn, I thought it was a draw, but white has one move that wins, and it puts black in zugzwang where he can't move. Yeah. So what's the only move for white that wins here? White has 8 legal moves, but only one of them wins. Some of them lose. Yes? King to g5, the move that I missed. If you take either pawn, I'll take the other pawn. Take this pawn, I'll take this one. But if you play king g5, it's black's turn to move, and black doesn't want to move. In fact, if it was white's move, it would be a draw. But it's black's move, and black has to move, which is unfortunate, because that's exactly where he wants his king, attacking both pawns. So if he moves his king that way, white takes that pawn. Uh-oh. And now, some smart Alex, they said, wait a minute, I'm not going to take this pawn, I'm going to go here. Ooh, it's tricky.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, white just moves his king, and when you take the pawn, then he goes back to the same position. Ah! Now, the reason black resigned, other than he figured that out, was that game actually happened before, and they both knew it. From like the 1940s, and that's what happened. So by knowing games that were played previously and knowing positions, they knew what the result of this game should be. But I learned something, yay. Now I know this endgame. If I ever have it against you, you're in trouble. Am I ever going to have it against you? No. I might, but I would have about 40 extra pieces also. Okay, so if I ever blunder those 40 pieces, then I still know this king and pawn endgame. No, it's not. Don't you guys play Bug House?
Okay, Bug House, yeah.
Then I would be 50 pieces ahead with 7 bishops on the same color and atomic weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so now I was reading a chess book once. No, I'm telling the truth. Ben doesn't believe me. He's like, no, you weren't. And this was the position. This is actually very funny. And it was in a book on king and pawn endings, and black's going this way, right?
Yeah.
And the thing said, white to move, it's a draw. Black to move, it's a draw. So it's a draw. Okay? Actually, that's incorrect. And the reason it's incorrect is funny. It is a draw, but the statement white to move draw, black to move draw is wrong. Who knows why that's wrong? The answer is actually really hard to figure out because it's not really chess related. It has to do with the rules of chess. Who knows the rules? You're like, the rules, what's that? Okay, and Ben's like, I don't understand. Does Ben understand? And he's higher rated than all of you put together, but he still doesn't get it. Yes? Although I might bet on him against you. I don't know. Yeah?
Well, the move, if it's back to move, I said king f3 when white.
Well, white can go here, 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 right?
No, if it's white to move, I think it would.
If it's white to move, it's stalemate. We agree.
Yeah.
If it's black to move, it's still a draw. However, that statement is wrong for the following funny reason. And the funny reason is, it's not possible that it's black to move. Let's do some analysis. If it's black to move, then who just moved?
White.
White. Tell me what white's last move was. Somebody explain it to me. What did white just do?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. So it has to be white's move here. It can't be black's move, although in some kids' tournaments. Okay, so if it's a kids' tournament, all bets are off. Then, you know, this could have been the position and white played here, you know. What do I know? Okay. I was at a kids' tournament in New York once, and they both had a lot of pieces on the board. Well, white did. And white went here, and black went here, and white went here, and black went here. And I was really looking forward to this move. I was like, man, what's going to happen now? This will be the greatest moment of my life. Instead, white went here, and I was depressed. I almost made the kid go here just to see what would happen. I'd be like, come on, now what? You know. Yeah. Very, very suspicious and illegal play. And they said the kids in New York are strong at chess. I don't know. Okay. Okay, now, in this position, white's a pawn up. White's trying to queen. What is in black's favor here? What do you like about black? What's the one thing about black that's pretty good?
He can stalemate.
He can stalemate white. More importantly, that pawn's on the side. Those pawns never win. So black has a very tricky thing he can do. Here, 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 here. Okay, or if you want to draw immediately, you don't want to waste your time, you can attack the pawn. Probably white will play h7, right? And then you'll stalemate him. Which is funny because black has no pieces and he stalemated white. What were the chances of that? 50-50?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so these positions are always drawn. Now, let's cheat a little bit. There we go. I cheated very little. White to move. What would you do if you were white? White to move.
King out of the way.
What would you, who raises their hand and don't raise your hand though? Yes. He raised his pencil. Good job. What should white do? What's that? Pawn to h7 exclam, right? Who says that's the best move they ever saw?
Nobody.
What, don't you have low standards? No? Okay, so if you go here and black goes here, that's probably a draw, right?
Or king f8.
Right, but if you stop black from going there,
By going.
now you're going to make a queen, then you're going to win, right? What's better, winning or stalemate?
Winning.
Well, what if you're playing me? Oh, then it's still winning, I guess. Right, so you want to queen your pawn and not have your king trapped in the corner. Okay, so it's very important in a lot of positions to stop your opponent. Okay, now this position, let's pretend it's white to move. Is this a win or a draw? It's a trick question. White to move. White's turn to move. Whose turn is it? White's. Is it a win or a draw?
I think that's impossible.
That's impossible?
I thought you said it's a trick question, so I'm like.
So you give a trick answer. It's Trickster for kids. Okay, well, white's winning because white makes a queen. Pawn here, pawn here, pawn here. Easy. But if white doesn't see that, and tries to block out the black king, he can't do it. Now if he goes here, he's stuck in front of his pawn.
But he's 2 squares in front of the pawn. You said that.
But the
was good.
side pawn's always a draw. Side pawns are bad. Unless you queen them, then you're looking good, right? Okay, well, you might not look good, but you're playing chess well, right? You know what I'm talking about. Okay, either way is good. Now in this position, your standard position, is this a win or a draw? It doesn't matter whose turn it is. Same answer.
Draw.
Draw, because the king's in front of the pawn. You can't get your king in front of the pawn. That would be cheating. These are always drawn, and these are always winning. You want your king in front of the pawn. The other guy wants his king in front of the pawn, because that's what you want. Now, I'll show you some really tricky endgames that nobody's ever solved. So I don't know the answer. So when you're up 2 pawns, usually you win. And when I say usually, I mean always. However, not this position. This is the exception that proves the rule. Black to play has 1 move that draws. I've asked hundreds of grandmasters, and they're still crying.
I think it would be c4.
That's correct. King to c4, and now it's white's move. If it was black's move, he'd lose. So he's waiting for white to move. If white goes here, he takes the pawn, and then he wins the other one. And the same with this. Now let's pretend black played the obvious move, king takes pawn. Now he loses. King here, and white's king gets all the way up here. And after here, what's the only winning move for white? Possibly called the opposition.
D5.
The king's on e5. King to d5, and it's black's turn to move, so black loses. That was a pretty cool position. Now there's a US women's champion. I think she's won it 3 times. If she's won it 4 times, she's really mad right now, shaking her fist at the camera. And her name's Anna Zatonsky. I think she's won it 3 times. Can you investigate that for me? 3? Okay. And Anna Zatonsky told me a funny puzzle once. She said, set up a position where it's king and 3 pawns versus king. It's the 3 pawns' turn to move, and it's a draw with best play. And the pawns are not doubled or tripled. They're all in different files.
Whoa.
So I solved it, but it took me about 20 minutes. I figured out the position she was talking about. Very difficult problem. And you could also do it on the other side of the board, and this is the answer. So it's white to move, but white's losing all of his or her pawns. The key variation is king here, king takes pawn, king b3, and now black only has 1 move that draws, but it's a strange move. Probably you wouldn't make it and you'd lose, and I'd cry. The obvious move, correct. The obvious move is to go win the pawn, but that loses. What's the opposition move?
b5.
King b5 is a draw. The reason this loses is very funny. It's very hard to find how to win for white. Nobody's ever found it. How does white win this position? It's the strangest move ever. Normally in these endgames, you want to make queens, right?
Yeah.
And here, we stop ourselves from making a queen so we can make a queen later. How do you stop this pawn from moving?
You put your king in front of it.
Right, and that's the winning move. And then when you take the pawn, your king goes here, and you're stopping the king from getting back. And black's like, no, I'm going to get back. And you're like, no, you're not. Then he's like, I'm going to get back. He's like, no, you're not. And he's like, I'm going to go this way. And then he's just like, okay, let's see who's quicker. Oh, and white wins. Right, so white wins if you try to win this pawn. But if you play king here, now white doesn't have a good move. White's stuck. White can't play king here for obvious reasons. And if you play pawn here, now you go win this pawn. And the white king can't go up and help. So that was a crazy hard problem. That was the hardest problem ever. But if you want a queen and you see your opponent wants to queen, you have to try to stop them. Okay? If you make the obvious move just trying to take pawns, they might queen another pawn. Now, one thing I want to explain to you, which is very obvious, then we'll get less obvious. In this position, black's going to take that pawn, and it's going to be a draw. But let me ask you another question. If this is here, can black just take both of the pawns and draw? You have to look and figure it out. Looking at me is not going to help.
Well, the first.
Can black just go yum, 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 and take all the pawns?
No.
Yeah.
That white king's not going to help, is it?
No.
Okay, the reason you can't do that is once you take this pawn starts to become a queen. So when pawns are connected, they defend each other. This one defends this one, obviously. And when this takes this becomes a queen. A much harder problem is this one when the pawns are disconnected. Don't touch the clock, please. Then they'll hear on the internet and people start crying. Okay? So in this position, black's like, I'm going to go take all those pawns. Rawr. And white's like, why's my king over there? But actually, those pawns that are disconnected also protect each other. Isn't that crazy? So let's say you go take a pawn. I'm going to go take you. And then white's like, aha, I'm going to go here. Now if you take that pawn, I'm going to queen. And you can't go and take that pawn. Those are illegal moves. Now if you go back around to take that pawn, when you get here, I'm going to go here, and we'll do the same thing again. He attacks this pawn, and we go here. Those pawns also can't be captured because white makes a queen.
Actually, the D pawn cannot be captured.
Neither pawn can be captured. So when the pawns have one file apart, you still can't take them both.
Wait, if they're one file apart.
If they're here, you can't take them. If you're here, you can't take them.
What about 2 files apart?
Ah, then it depends. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Right, like here, if there was no king, we would attack this pawn, and then after here, we would go here. And now we win both pawns. The pawns can't protect each other anymore.
If you were a horse.
Although, well, how did you know? Who told you? But if obviously you have a king, so if your king's helping out, you're going to win. You have a king. Well, I took it off the board. If you didn't have a king, then you need to be in the 12 o'clock class, not the 1 o'clock class. Because then, it doesn't really matter in the 12 o'clock class. In the 1 o'clock class, you need a king. Now I'm going to tell you a special case, because I talked to some of your parents. They said you were special. Unfortunately, then they winked, so I don't know. Anyway, let's say you have doubled pawns on the same file, and you're trying to win, okay? The way to win is to never move the back pawn. Never. Never. Okay, like the song. Okay, I don't get royalties for that though. So you go do, and you're about to stalemate your opponent. Like if this pawn wasn't here, you would play king here, stalemate.
Yeah.
Ah, now you move the pawn right when you're about to stalemate them, and they have to go here, and now you go here and you win. However, what most kids do is they move both pawns up.
Whoa.
Then you don't win. If you start moving all your pawns up and not listening to me and leaving it back here,
Oh, then
now it's a draw. King here is stalemate, pawn here is stalemate. But if your pawn was back here, you could just go here and win and make black move.
little E4.
Also winning. But this position is a draw if it's white's move, which is unfortunate because white wants to win.
What if it's black's move?
Then you win because yay, and
Or
then you make a
could
queen.
Just, like, move your pawn up instead of your king. Then.
Move your pawn up?
Wait, when?
Oh, when you went here?
Yeah.
Then I go here. No!
Wait, would be in check for a second.
That's true, but only for 1 second. Right? The next second would be terrible. Okay, the next second might be okay. Depends what he does. Right. So you don't want to stalemate your opponent because then you don't win. Now this is a pretty tricky problem. Okay, it's white to play and you have white. What do you do?
Promotion!
Okay, but you could approach to a bishop, a knight.
Oh, right.
You could get promoted to assistant manager.
Knight.
Nobody said bishop. Okay, because bishop's wrong.
Rook.
Well, if you make a queen, hypothetically, what do you think black would do here? I'll wait.
You get a queen or a rook.
Why can't you get a bishop or a knight?
Because.
Then you can't win?
Yeah.
That's right.
You can't.
All right, let's make it a queen. Let's make it a queen. Now, where do you think that king's going to go?
Stalemate. Off the board.
He's going to go to H6.
Isn't the queen stopping that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he's not going to go anywhere, and that's a draw. So you should promote to a rook, and then you can checkmate them. Or you could not promote at all, and then promote later and make a queen. Either way, you'll win. If you promote to a queen, it's stalemate. When your opponent has a king left, and you have an army, don't stalemate them. Then you won't win.